Hi, so my name is Prem Asim Jain, and in this video we are going to continue on our library management project. So what we have learned is we had a flat hierarchy system. We have like all the things put together in the single package. We were able to finish the student and the book object because they are called as the domain object. Entire library depends on book, and if there will be no consumer of the books, it's no point. So book and student. Then we had another class which is called as the library manager, initializer, and client. So once we started this project in first video, we came up with client, and client had a menu which so this was a menu driven interface, text based interface. So a user is allowed to enter some digit to pick some options, and that's how we were going ahead. Then library management is the main class which takes care of interaction between the domain object. So we can think of it as a controller. So we can think of as model view controller design pattern. If we think about, then client is our view here, because this is what you see if something is created, student is created, whatever flow we had so far achieved. So this is the view from the customers or clients or users perspective. Then controller is our library manager because it controls the books creation and everything, whatever the logic which view sees. And then the model is student model and the book model. So going ahead further down in the project, we can replace the domain object interaction by using Hibernate and MongoDB. But for now, in this, we have the in-memory database. We just have in-memory collections which are getting initialized. So initialize is a class, and responsibility of this class is to put the dummy data or the system data inside the project. So as soon as you load or bootstrap your project, you have to have some data to begin with. So that is what this initializer class is doing over here. So we did little bit of refactoring. So now client, we have moved the responsibility of initializing the data to the library manager. The reason is we do not want too many references in the client directly. So what we are doing is the client class only knows about one class or object or linked with the library manager, and rest everything is managed by the library manager class. So here also we'll find that whatever the code, it is calling library manager when you're trying to retrieve the user or create new user, new student user, or getting the books and everything. So that is the responsibility here for library manager. And if we go to library manager, there is a little bit of refactoring which I did from the last video. What we have seen over there is we have initialized the component over here, the object, and this object calls couple of methods which basically would load the data. So we say initializer.load students, we pass it as the student list and it initializes. Same is with the load books. So we pass it the simulated hash map, and then it does whatever is required and gives us the data. Now what we are doing is we have to have the book assigned to a student. So this is our book, and book has a field which is called as is assigned. So by default books are not assigned, so they are false. So imagine this as each book will represent the object entity. So in library, if you have 500 books, you will have 500 equivalent objects in your system. So whenever a book gets sold out, or it gets owned, or it gets assigned, same reflection should happen over here. So let's move ahead and let's try to tweak our program so that whenever a student is assigning a book, he should get it assigned. So we'll run this real quick and see how it works, and then we'll move ahead. It is always a good practice to run a program and keep validating it. So if you break something, you already know that your changes has break something. Here you see welcome to library, which is our message, and these are the options which are already given to the user to grab some book. And then you ask user if he's a returning user, then he has to enter some ID, and then you would see, okay, some user has already been entered. Now, once the user has logged in or entered in the system, we would give him opportunity to assign a book to himself. So for the assignment, again, we would try to go through the command line options and interface. So let's see, here is option 1. Please enter your ID. Once you enter your ID, you would get the student object assigned. So once you get the student object assigned, from this point you need to call take input for books. So it's a good practice to do programming. First you can write step-by-step algorithm, or you can on high level you can define what you need to do step-by-step stuff or pseudocode. So we'll take input for book retrieval. Then we will fetch the book. So once we fetch the book, we will assign the book. Here you can have several validation if the book you fetch is already assigned or if it's not assigned, and blah blah blah. So we'll just go simple first, then we will add complexity to the system. So assign book and validate its status. And the last thing would be to acknowledge user. Because if you're doing something and you're not acknowledging your user, he's in confusion whether it's assigned, it's not, there is no messaging, then your program is not a good program. So a good program has to have the acknowledgement. So for retrieval of books, we would rely on our library manager, and we would ask user. So what we are doing, student retrieved is, so whatever is the student ID, now we need to say is please enter book category. Since we have used our hash map, so hash map has a bucket. So all the categories or the books which are there for the category, maybe Java, Golang or JavaScript, those books would be shown to the user. So we would make minor modifications over here in the program, and what we are going to do that instead of throwing all the book on the face as soon as user logs in, we would do it on need basis. So we would say we would print the book menu, book category menu. So let's try to do it here. Is books menu to pick, and we would have something called as a separator. So this would do the separator. We can, and then we can duplicate it. So whatever value goes here, it would be the items. So first we would have a sysout and then we would say enter 101 for Java books. So we just kept it simple. We just have three categories so that we can learn, we can get the point, and without wasting much time. In the real project, you might have to do a lot of coding for months and years together, but here it's just to get the concept. We'll just have three categories. So as soon as user inputs the category, we would retrieve and show him that on need basis. So we'll just finish that part real quick. To take the input, we are using the scan, and we are using the scan ID. So let's try and figure this out over here. We would say that we need category, and this should be an integer. So we have got the category. Now we would say print book for this particular category. So we can print it. So there are two. Okay, let's try to print it for this category. So we need to call a method in library manager, and library manager, instead of directly calling the book object and do whatever you want, better is you should call your library manager and give this responsibility to library manager is display books, and then you can have this parameter. So you already have two categories. So to display all books you have one option, and then to display another kind of books you have another option. Now it is giving some complaints, and why is that? Because you're calling, so you're not supposed to type the data type. So it is saying this method doesn't exist and blah blah blah. So what do you need to do here is you need to create a method inside the class. So probably you would have void display books. What I would do rather is use this entire stuff, and then we would have integer and category for our category ID. So as soon as you get a category ID, sure. Now what you need to do, that you don't need a for loop over here because you already know the category ID. So it should be super simple and super fast. It's like a no-brainer. So you would go and say printing books for category, you would retrieve those books and you would just print it, and that's all. And now you also have a field called as is assigned. So this should work without a problem, and this variable is not required. So we have overloaded a method called as display books. So it would display with the category. So let's try and run this real quick. And before doing, okay, let's try to run. So you have already printed these books, which I don't think we should print on the face of the user. So we would remove it. Here is the code. Yeah, here is the code. So now we are going to run it again. So this is clean now. Here is the available books. In next run we will try that. So first let's try to retrieve the user. Cool. So now it says that books menu to pick up, and then it is showing. So we need to work a little bit with these details, student details or whatever. so that would make sense. I don't know why it has displayed. We'll fix it real quick. However, our book menu to put with the categories are being showing up really nice. Please enter category. Student details. Let's try and fix the student details. Okay, that is why. It's called as the copy paste error. So I printed the student when I did a copy paste, and same over here. So we fix this, we fix the above stuff. We are trying to display those books, and based on those books which are displayed, we are supposed to retrieve a book. So once we would retrieve that book, once we can tweak this a little bit. So we will retrieve that book, and then we will say is assigned is equal to true. That means the book would get assigned to that. So let's try and rerun this to see if it works till here nicely. Yep, student retrieve, book menu given, try to retrieve Java books. We have got the option printing books for category 101. Let us use Java for connector with some details. Okay, cool. So what's the next step? Here was this. You set category ID. We need a /n after this, a new line character. So before entering over here, so there are two ways of doing this. Either you do a system.out.println, or you can add a new line character, something like this escape sequence. So that would be same. Now what you can do is you can return this, and I'll tell you why in a moment. The reason for this is, so it is going to be a list of books. And the reason for this is we can do the assignment then and there over here, and then of course if we want we can refactor. So we would say books. Why is it crying? Required java.util.book, and the return type is void. Yeah, makes sense. So when we refactor this, we are trying to return something without fixing the return type. And Java is very particular about it. In JavaScript or other scripting languages, you might have missed it and still the program would run. But it stops compiling, which is a good part of it. Now what we are going to do is, in our initializer program, we would give the book ID as the way we did it for students. We would have it in the same sequences, ID with 0 and then ID with 1. These are Java books. Let us Bible of Java, and this ID is 2. For JavaScript books, this is 0. In each category there would be some books, and they would have some values. So we can make it as 0. Now we will run it here. Do 1, do 1. Now we do 101, and we are able to see the books. After this, once, okay, /n slash n is not giving us the proper values. So that was intentional, because what I wanted to tell you is you need to take care of this slash, otherwise it won't work. So it's a backward slash here. See, I would just point it out over this guy. Now this would give a proper spacing once you fix it. You did one, you did one. See, now you see everything properly. So these were the books. What we are going to do is we will print the ID, then the name, and then its status. So that would make more sense when we print the book. And we would display a little bit of detail, because right now one doesn't know what's the title and other thing over here. So we are trying to print the book in this format. So we would take it away, and we would do smartly override the toString method. So what we can do, what we can say is ID, and then we would tell it as, do we have ID? Yes. So object oriented, this means this dot ID means whatever ID you're using here. We are not super interested in author, but we are super interested in name. We can always print category, but as far as our program is concerned, we are not we have different kind of display. So we would say title, and then status. This is what we are interested in. We don't want the hash code here. Cool. Still it is having some issues, and what is that and why is that? Missing return statement. Okay. And this would work. So this is another way of returning. You just concatenated the string here, and then it goes there. So let's try and see if it works. Before trying, you need to make changes over here, because now you can just say a south and then just do a B. And that's all what you need to do. Let's do a run and see this. Oops, we are calling this, we are not calling this anymore. So we would do a south B, and there we go. As favorite 1 1 101. Okay, now we see ID. I think we are putting something else. ID should be 0 1 and 2. Let's check this. Once we initialized it, okay, we took this value as the quantity over there. Let's fix this. We can call this as ID. And then this guy, we don't need it anymore. Cool. Still it would break somewhere. Let's see where. Here. So as we move ahead, we can find out some parameters or some tweaks in the structure, constructor, and we just need to adapt it just like that. So this should be good now. Let's try to run this. Cool. So this would conclude the video over here where we are able to get a particular category of the book for the library. In next video, we would learn how to make object changes to do the actual assignments. If you have any questions, feel free to drop me a mail or visit my website, which is premasim.com, and mail ID is premasim.webmaster@gmail.com.